Hello, blessings. So good to see you. Hi. We have a small group today. That's good. Hi, Devaya. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Candace. Hi, Anna. Welcome, welcome. Let's see. All right. So we're going to be exploring this idea that I mentioned in the email of being a safe space for yourself. Being a safe space for yourself. And we'll unpack what that means and why it's important and how we can actually cultivate this quality of like inner safety. So when we have this quality of inner safety, then we're more balanced, we're more connected, we're less likely to get get hooked by external. It's harder to rock the boat. It's harder to rock the boat within ourselves when we have a sense of safety within. So like others don't rock the boat as easily, life doesn't rock the boat as easily when we're connected to this. So welcome. Go ahead and let's go ahead and we'll just take a moment to just in the chat, and let's keep all the dialogue in chat, please. So if you could in the chat let me know what your intention is. What is it that you're most wanting to feel or receive? And like you can also let me know where you're at. Like, what's true in your heart, mind right now? Welcome, Diane. Welcome, Sarah Lynn. Marlene, connection and clarity. Yes, I am happy to be here. Oh my gosh, we're so happy to have you, Marlene. Back from visiting your sister. Well, I know you've been back for a few days, but you're gone for a minute. Yeah, glad to have you back. I'll wait for one or two more. So as we're just, as I'm waiting for another comment, we'll just sense ourselves really arriving here in sacred space. And this arrival is really about coming into your body. So really being in your body right now and sensing the natural cadence of your breath. And that we can actually attend to both of these things as we're listening to words, right? We can actually attend to being in the body and with the breath as we receive whatever it is that we're here to receive. Let's see here. Yes, body is the deal. That's tricky. Devaya, this feels like a very good topic today. Oh yeah, intimacy and vulnerability issues around this. Yeah, good. Glad you're here, Devaya. Yeah, the body is the deal. That's tricky. Yeah. Safe for me. Yes, Candace. Beautiful. Upcoming event that usually makes me very anxious to be mindful of bringing practice. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, great. Good. So today's talk and sit, I think will I hope will be of benefit to you. Welcome, Tracy. It's good to see some new faces in the virtual Sangha space. Hi. All right, so we always start the first half about as a talk and the second is our meditation. We will go till 10 a.m. PT. Really appreciate your staying the entire time. And so really what we're talking about today is self-compassion. Self-compassion is, oh, look, Alex is here and Emma, okay. Self-compassion is really the secret, the secret sauce And I mean, you've heard this so many times, right? Self-compassion, self-compassion. But I, even as after 2 decades of practice, I'm really like realizing more and more like what self-compassion actually is and how healing it is. So I want to reference the work of Kristen Neff here. Kristen Neff wrote a book called Self-Compassion. She might have other books too. I think she does, but I'm going to be referencing pieces of self-compassion today from her book. And she is the founder of mindfulness-based self-compassion, MBSC, which is the wording is similar to mindfulness-based stress reduction from Jon Kabat-Zinn. And the two really work well together. So I want to talk to you about what she actually identifies as the 3 most important elements of self-compassion. And so let's just, before I dive into the 3 elements, I want to just talk about this idea of being a safe home for yourself. Like the inner world. Who said it? Was it Einstein? We think might have said this. I think that's who it was who said, something like, is the universe a friendly place or not? It's a good inquiry to kind of sense like, if the world doesn't feel very safe, likely the inner world isn't feeling very safe. And the inner world doesn't feel very safe when we are hijacked by our critical, catastrophic thinking. So the inner critic has a particular agenda around, actually it does just want to keep us safe. But the inner critic's way of trying to keep us safe is quite hostile. So it's like when we're really under the thumb of the inner critic, we're feeling like the outer world isn't safe because the inner world feels hostile. And another word that I used to describe it is like barren. It's the sense too that like something bad could happen. I'm not good enough. Other folks, when we're kind of in this place, might seem to be threatening. Sort of like the orientation towards what's happening externally is one of, it's like one of threat. The outer world feels like a threat in some way, shape, or form. And all of this is just pointing to the fact that the inner terrain is in need of some care. The inner terrain is in need of some kindness and some friendliness. And kindness is really a superpower. It's not the easy inclination for most of us. We might be kind externally to others. Like I'm going to assume that I know, some of you quite well. There's a friendliness and a kindness that you bring to the table that you extend to other folks. But I'm talking specifically about the kindness and the friendliness that we have towards ourselves. In particular, the kindness and the friendliness that we extend towards ourselves when we become aware of our just human infallibility, or fallibility, I should say. When we become aware of our human foibles. Usually when we become aware of, say, a quality of ourselves that we might judge as distasteful, like craving, for example. If we're caught in craving and we sense that we're eating too much, if we were to check in, there's probably like some way in which there's a harsh or critical judgment happening about that part of us that never is satiated. It's like, oh, here you are doing it again. You're eating too much. You're such a cow. Like that's like the inner, like that's you're never going to get it together. What's wrong with you? Why can't you do anything right? That's the inner critic. And oftentimes we're believing that that's true. And if we're believing that that's true, yeah, of course, like it doesn't feel very safe in here. If I'm constantly like criticizing myself, you know, or I'm just indifferent, sort of I'm unconscious to myself, that doesn't feel like a very safe space to be. So I will try to create safety in other ways. And oftentimes it doesn't work, right? So I'll try to get other people to be there for me in a way that makes me feel safe and secure, but that doesn't quite work perfectly, right? Because other people are flawed and imperfect too, just like us. And so that doesn't quite work out. Okay, well, maybe we'll like take the perfect, I don't know, vacation or, you know, something externally. Maybe if we clear some old programming internally, right? Like this is kind of the spiritual bypass thing. Then we can feel safe and secure. But actually, it is an inner relationship. If we cultivate a sense of like, you know, part of it too is catching the ouch moment. Like just catching that moment where like I was walking to school today to get to my son's school to pick up some supplies for the end of the year. And I went walk into the foyer and there's nothing. I don't see any of the supplies that I'm supposed to see. And I start to notice myself get a little anxious. And then I start to notice my mind going, oh no, he's not going to have what he needs for his end of the year party. Right. And then I can start to notice myself like gearing up, right? The nervous system is triggered and I'm starting to get activated. And in that moment, that's an ouch moment, right? I'm starting to notice the ramping up and I'm like, oh, yeah, take a breath. Whew. Oh, this is hard. Oh yeah, this is hard. You know, and then my bad mom stories. You never know, like you can't keep any of this together. You never know when this stuff is going to be there. Like, you know, it's like getting all the organization and the dates and like with school, you know, that old tape will start to play. So the interruption is kindness. It's like, oh, this is hard. Yeah. Yeah, like this is a moment of ouch for me right now. And it's sort of like, it's okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You know, and I'm just slowing down, breathing and acknowledging that I'm having a moment of suffering. I'm having a moment of dissatisfaction. I'm having a moment of activation, which is not pleasant. It's uncomfortable. And if I don't catch it and extend kindness, imagine if I catch it and I extend criticism, right? That has a whole, then my inner terrain feels even more threatening. And so I want that to really land for all of us. It's like really using those ouch moments that we experience throughout the day, rather than trying to protect ourselves from them, sensing that they're opportunities to like extend kindness. And honestly, the more tuned in we are to that, typically like the less ruffled our feathers get anyway, because we're sort of like already holding ourselves with kindness. But along with catching the ouch moment, I want to mention these 3 points. Yeah, waiting for the other shoe. Oh, that's a good one, Marlene. I know a lot of us can relate to that. Waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Again, the inner voice, if we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, is like fearful, catastrophic, probably pulling from the past during a time, you know, when our world, when we were kids, was beyond our control, really. We really did depend on our caregivers for our safety and survival, but that's not true anymore. And so when we notice like, oh, waiting for the other shoe to drop, it's like, ooh, oh yeah. Yeah, it's like a moment of like recognition, like, ow, this hurts. This was a view that, you know, served me when I was a kid. Yeah, it doesn't so much serve me anymore. And it could be as easy as like, not as easy, but something like, I can handle anything that's going to happen. You know, I can handle it. It's like remembering our agency. You know, in the example of the shoe's going to drop, it's like, well, shit, yeah, if the other shoe does drop, I'll figure it out. It's going to be okay. You know, so it's like the self-talking is really an integral part of self-compassion. So the first element of self-compassion that Kristen Neff talks about is self-kindness versus self-judgment. And I think I've unpacked that really well. So, or I don't know if really well is right, but I've unpacked that quite a bit. So we recognize with self-kindness that, yeah, we might make lots of mistakes. You know, we're not guarded against our own imperfection. Tara Brach calls it being without anxiety about imperfection. And this is like, you know, it requires a level of self-honesty. You know, it requires a level of self-honesty. The other day I was noticing that I was like really like high, like strung tight. I don't know why. I was stressed out over something, I guess. And my son said, Mom, you're like your tone, you know, like your tone, are you stressed out? And if I don't have kindness around the fact that I can get like that, then, you know, I'll get defensive. But it was like in that moment I could say, you know, yeah, you know, I am like, I'm like, let me take a moment. You're right. I'm kind of stressed out right now. So self-kindness is what allows us to be honest with ourselves. Otherwise we'll just go into defensiveness or projection. We won't own it. And then there's no possibility of softening with it. The second is common humanity versus isolation. And what this means is, like, in any moment we can sense that there are other folks just like us who are going through the same joys, the same sorrows, the same stuff, that we are not alone. That our whatever we're going through is not just about us. And when we get caught in isolation, like, poor me, it can look like that. Why me? And we all get caught in this. You ever notice that? It can feel like in the moment when the dial's turned up on stress, when we're activated, we can feel all alone and isolated. It's that sense of like, oh, I'm all alone here. And in those moments, if we catch them, we can actually start to reflect also upon, yeah, other people just like us going through the same thing, other moms in this moment that are stressed out just like me, or oh my gosh, other, like, you know, we can do it on the positive end too, like, you know, seeing kids playing in the water at the lagoon yesterday when I was taking my daughter to swimming. It was just like to see them playing and just realizing, oh my God, there's so many kids right now who are just like full of joy, playing together, having so much fun, you know, in this warm day in the water. And so we can, and may other people, you know, take this in. May other, like, grown-ups be impacted just like me by the joy of children, because it feels so good, you know. So this is an idea of common humanity versus isolation. And the third is mindfulness versus over identification. So mindfulness allows us to observe emotions and thoughts. But if I'm not observing emotions and thoughts, then I may be enmeshed with it. So that looks like defensiveness. That looks like ungrounded excitement. It's like getting completely enmeshed in what's happening, rather than taking a step back and going, okay, what is happening here? What can I notice? Like when we open up this, the sit or our time together, I ask you to name what you notice. What's true for you right now? And the reason that I do that is so we can get some distance, so that we come into the space already kind of more anchored in our awareness. And, you know, the more we practice in this way, the more interested we are in awareness itself and less interested in what awareness is noticing. And that is the, you know, noticing what awareness is noticing and not getting caught up in it is not being identified. So there's some space and there's some separation. It's more of a balanced approach, especially to negative emotions and feelings, so that they're not repressed or suppressed or exaggerated, right? Because we know we can exaggerate the littlest thing, like, oh no, you know, and globalize and like, and that we can create a lot of suffering for ourselves in that way. And so, yeah, mindfulness is this open mind state and it's non-judgmental. And with mindfulness, we can, yeah, we're much better able to navigate the ups and the downs of our daily experience. So self-compassion. Let me just recap. Number 1, self-kindness versus self-judgment. Number 2, common humanity versus isolation. And number 3, mindfulness versus over-identification. And I want to mention too, from before I named the 3, this practice that we can cultivate of like talking to ourselves, like really doing this, you know, and throughout the day, right? And just, oh, it's okay, sweetheart. Byron Katie likes to use that word a lot, sweetheart or love. Or, you know, a term of endearment for yourself if you don't have one. It's good to get one, you know, and mine changes just depending on what wants to come out. But at first, this can feel silly. It can feel like overindulgent or something like that. And if that does feel that way to you, that's interesting feedback, right? And I would encourage you to do it anyway. And to include your own aversion about bringing kindness to yourself into the practice. And just do it. And like, the more we do it, like anything else, the more of a habit it becomes. And then the inner terrain feels like, God, you know what? No matter what happens today, like, I'm a safe space for myself. I don't need the external world to be there for me, you know, when I'm there for me. And then usually it turns out that the external world really feels like it's there for us when we're there for ourselves. Yeah, that's right, Tracy. Cognitive cascade going down the rabbit hole of stress, worry, and anxiety. Yeah, just imagine this, imagine just having more sense of inner safety, like how that would feel, and that it's absolutely possible for you to have that, to cultivate that. And it all comes back to kindness. It all comes back to kindness, extending kindness towards whatever we're noticing. Yeah. Okay. What's landing for you as we pivot to our sit? This is helpful. I love Diane. She's like on the grass there, looks like sitting on her mat. Oh, that looks amazing. Love it. Hi. Inner kindness, not relying on others. Yeah. And it's really natural. I want to mention this, Tracy, around others. We do, like, it's totally, we're relational beings. We get a lot out of connection and being with other people. But when there's not inner kindness, it can leave our external relationships feeling like more about it can feel less authentic because we might be trying like to turn ourselves inside out to be accepted in relationship, you know, to not ruffle feathers or whatever. We get into our strategies of trying to minimize threat when the inner terrain isn't kind. And so recognizing like, yeah, we do in some ways need others, but it's a need that is wholesome and totally manageable, and something that we can meet with others when the inner terrain is that of kindness. It's hard to authentically connect with people when we're afraid of them at the same time. You get what I'm saying? Anna, it's okay, sweetheart. That is exactly what I would say to others. Now I can say, yeah, perfect, Anna. Yeah, no matter what happens, I am here for myself. That's good, Marlene. This reminds me of Louise Hay. Oh my gosh, Louise Hay. Remembering her as I'm talking about this. But she would talk about going to the mirror, and when something happened that kind of ruffled your feathers, no matter how small, going to the mirror and saying, I love you anyway. I love you anyway. I love you anyway. Right? Like you make a mistake, it's like, ah, shit, I love you anyway. You know, I love you anyway. Yeah, that's I've practiced that and love that. All right, let's we're gonna transition now to our sit, and just go ahead and get comfortable. You can totally lie down if you want, as long as you know it's okay if you fall asleep, but it's preferable as we practice together that you have an alertness, a mindfulness, but taking a posture that feels supportive to the body today. And then I'm just going to mention as well that these sits are offered by by donation. If you can't afford to make a donation, no problem. Please don't ever not come. But for those of you who can, your donations really make a difference. And I'm on all the things: Zelle, PayPal, and Venmo. Yeah, I love that, Anna. Yeah, sweetheart. So we want to actually take a really comfortable posture here when we sort of lean into compassion and meditation practice. There's sort of like a more emphasis on comfort in the body. So allowing that to happen for you. We're going to chant Om 3 times. As we chant, just noticing the effects of the vibration after the Om. So taking a deep breath in. On this next exhale, beginning to draw your belly button back and in towards your spine. Effortless inhale. Full inhale, exhale, navel back and in towards the spine. We'll do 8 more of these belly breaths. Stay with it. And one more. Really squeezing the stale air out here. And then just letting go of that. And letting the breath breathe you. Now is the time to know that all that you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you finally live with veracity and love. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart? What is it in that sweet voice inside? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. And for the first few minutes here, we'll just really tether the attention to the breath. Letting go of the need to sort everything out. You don't have to sort anything out. Just be with your breath. Recognize being with your breath as an act of kindness. You might even recognize what feels good about being with your breath. That there's a refuge in that simplicity. Once the attention feels steadied a bit, you might start to notice all the different sensations that arise and pass away inside the body. Some of those sensations are pleasant. Like the feeling of sitting on the ground, or the feeling of the feet resting on the floor. Or a warmth in the belly. We can savor what we notice is pleasant. We don't have to hold it, but we can savor it. And there's unpleasant. Sometimes there's maybe a tightness in the shoulders or in the back, or maybe some other sensations that seem unpleasant. And to that, we can extend kindness, care, with no need or agenda that it go away. It's just like, oh, yeah, this is unpleasant. Can I hold it with gentleness? Can I hold myself with gentleness? We don't have to manufacture kindness. We can just sense it as being here in the most natural of ways. There's sort of a natural kindness that's just already here. We can sense that the thoughts and the feelings and the sensations and the sounds that they're being met with this natural kindness. Remembering the body. It's easy to just sort of leave the body. We don't judge that in any way. It's just part of the meditation. But maybe there's a way in which you can inhabit your skin again. You can sense the refuge. That it's available when the attention is collected. And we can always relax. Sensing every part of our experience belongs. Whether we're present or distracted. Whether we're experiencing pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Go gently today, don't hurry or think about the next thing. Walk with the quiet trees. Can you believe how brave they are? How kind. Model your life after theirs. Blow kisses at yourself in the mirror, especially when you think you've messed up. Forgive yourself for not meeting your unreasonable expectations. You are human, not God. Don't be so arrogant. Praise fresh air, clean water, good dogs. Spin something from joy. Open a window even if it's cold outside. Sit. Close your eyes. Breathe. Allow the river of it all to pulse through eyelashes, fingertips, bare toes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe until you feel your bigness, until the sun rises in your veins. Breathe until you stop needing anything to be different. If your eyes were closed, as you flutter them open, you can just start to take in your space. Now, there's a way in which when the meditation is over, the attention goes somewhere. It's an interesting thing to watch. Like sort of like, okay, it's done. Now the attention sort of is like, it's not reined in anymore, right? So it's a good practice to like, yeah, take this with you today. You know, not letting the mind go off on all of its tangents and sort of wander off aimlessly, and kind of keeping the attention collected and gathered throughout the day is absolutely part and parcel of being a safe space for yourself. And so my encouragement for us all is to just, yeah, keep the attention collected in the body with the breath as we move throughout our day. And then noticing when those moments happen, what I said were ouch moments, you know, just a little, you know, even the littlest thing, just the awareness of it in a moment, maybe hand on the heart. It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay. I gotcha. You can do this. You know, it's like that inner dialogue. We can all sense that we're practicing that together today and this week. So as we're closing, I did put my link in for Venmo into the chat. So I do once again appreciate your donations. They really do make a difference. That last poem was called Marlene, The Cure for It All by Julie Fehrenbacher. And it's out of this great book called Poetry of Presence. Poetry of Presence. All the Mary Oliver's in here, Rumi's in here, you know, David White's in here. Yeah, so it's a great collection of poetry. A lot of poems I haven't read yet. So I'd love to hear in the chat. This is the first time in 2 weeks I was in my body. Wow. Thanks for sharing that with me, Tracy. Yeah, what are your takeaways? If you could pop that into the chat, I really appreciate it. I will not be with you next week. I am on break next week. So just for those of you who are regulars, know that there's no sit next week, Tuesday. I will be back the week after. So next week is the 22nd. I will be back on the 29th. I'll send an email as well letting you know, but I just wanted to mention that to all of you who are here. Love myself. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Who else can you just share? I hope this was helpful for you. Takeaways. And please do bring friends. Yeah, share these sits with others who you think would benefit. Oh, good. Thank you. So helpful, constant. Yeah, it's like, isn't it, Marlene? Man, it never gets old. You never get this. Like, it's something like there's like, it's like I said, 2 decades, and I'm still, there's just new layers of kindness and friendliness. And then we get lost and we start, like, you know, I might notice I've been hard on myself for like a little while before I catch it, right? And I'm like, oh, I feel shitty. Why? Yeah, it's because I'm not being a friend to myself in that moment. All right. Okay, let me see. That was awesome and so needed. Thank you so much, Karina, for your, and oh, you're welcome. Blow kisses to yourself. Walk with this. Yes, good. Speak to myself like I would 100% to speak. Yes. Okay, great. Vulnerability and therefore safety are not what I've been pretending they are. Yeah. Insight, right, Devaya? Insight into that. All right, loves. We're all going to be practicing together, being a safe space to ourselves. You can take yourself off mute and say your goodbyes.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Tracy. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Candace. You're welcome.
Have a beautiful day. Love. Bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful day. Yeah. Bye. So good to see you. I'll see you in 2 weeks for our meditation. All right.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.